Hey, Felix Rosenqvist, fancy meeting you here, man, but I wanted to get you behind the wheel of a car. This isn't your Indy car you're going to be driving this weekend at Mid-Ohio, but I think this car actually might have a hybrid in it. I may be wrong, but I wanted you to show people, just in sort of a rudimentary way, what kind of challenges a driver is going to be facing from a mental, physical standpoint of remembering he now has hybrid boost available to him, along with push to pass in the Indy cars starting this weekend in Mid-Ohio. And I'm just, just kind of go through, let's say we're coming out of the carousel. No, say we're coming out of the keyhole turn at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and you want to get both the hybrid and the push to pass. Show people with your hands sort of generally what you'll be up to.
So in that case, you would, so my push to pass is here on the wheels. Let's say it's this button here. And let's say this is the hybrid here, the shift paddle. So it would be like, obviously you want to both push to pass and the hybrid, you want to engage when you're at full throttle, but as early as possible. So basically when you're traction limited, no wheel spin and full throttle. So you would probably press those at the same time, boom. And then you just run until, obviously you don't want to deplete, like, you don't want to use the whole battery at once, so you probably stop around, whatever percentage. You can see that on your dash. And for the push to pass, it's the same. Obviously you can spend 20 seconds, you can spend 2 seconds. So it's going to be quite fiddly. I think it's going to be tough for the drivers, and as I say, you got to find some kind of muscle memory to remember that. And on top of that, you have to pay attention to the state of charge, how much you used that particular lap, because if you overuse what you can use on a lap, then you just can't do anything, then it locks. So until you've crossed the line again. So there's a lot of little things, it's a lot of strategizing with that, especially on the road courses, because you have some long straights, short straights, tight turns, quick turns, and the engineers will basically set up kind of like a guideline what you want to do, and then you'll improvise that based on what you say, like the workload. And if the driver just feels, dude, I can't do this, I need to hold my hands more like properly on the wheel, and I can't fiddle with this during the corners, then there might be something that you change. So there's still a lot of question marks, and we're early days, haven't even started technically, so we'll see how it goes. But it's exciting. It's something new you can gain an edge on compared to the others. So we'll make the best out of it.
Hey, have you driven a hybrid race car before? I mean, obviously the IMSA prototypes have had it for a little while now, but have you actually driven one that had that in it?
No, I've never driven a hybrid race car. I've driven electric one in Formula E.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, in a way more complex, but also more simple, because whatever you have is what you have. Like there's not two engines in it,
right?
Which you have now. It's a combination of the two. So you can recharge while you're on full throttle. It'll take some energy doing it, but you'll still accelerate. So you can add a lot of complexity to the hybrid, which you can't with a fully electric one.
Yeah, exactly.
But in Formula E, it was more like software complex. There was more freedom what you could do. So at least I've been sort of familiar with the new terms and how these systems work. And I think the team, obviously, from the GTP program, and my engineer used to do Formula E as well. So I feel like we have,
a basic knowledge.
Yeah. It's not our first rodeo, let's say.
Yeah, rodeo. You might pronounce it if you were in Mexico. I wanted to ask you this though: is it also, do you have to get in? Remember, does the new hybrid system, does it regen or recover energy itself, or do you have to remember to push buttons in that regard? I mean, whether it's brake, is there something you have to push on the steering wheel to regen the electricity?
So you can basically, it's pretty manual. Like the driver has to do a lot of. So you have so I have my regen on the right side, my deploy on the left side, because you want to be able to shift with when you're accelerating, you deploy, you want to shift with the other hand. So and I would say 80% of it is manual, and 20% is kind of semi-automatic features that you can build in and and I don't want to go too much on the details because that's kind of where the where the lap time is sitting. So
yes,
I'm not going to give you too much, but I put it that way. It's a very manual system. The driver will have to monitor a lot of different numbers while driving fast and racing other cars.
I mean, it's literally don't text and drive, don't regen and drive, don't hybrid and drive, right? I mean, y'all are going to have a lot on your plate other than the actual, I call it the 4 dimensions of racing, which include the guy next to you messing with you. This is going to be an interesting weekend in that regard, right?
And the interesting thing is that it's not, this system won't give you like a second per lap. It might be like, on some tracks it might be a half a tenth, and on some tracks it might be 3/10, like Road America with long straights.
Yeah.
So it's still like the basics of IndyCar will still be the dominating factor. Like if you don't have a good setup, there's going to be more loss in that than you're not using a hybrid, right? But IndyCar is a championship where the hundreds matter.
Yes.
And so we all got to make the most out of this thing, because otherwise we'll, on a tight track like Mid-Ohio or Indy GP or Iowa, something like that, if you don't have that 100 on your side, you might drop a lot of spots. So even if it doesn't do a lot, you still, we all gonna deep dive into this and make sure we get to the bottom of it.
The way I understand it, this week it's adding about 60 horsepower. That's what the official told us the other day. Push to pass adds about 60 horsepower, right, in that general framework. Is there a thought that you use push to pass and then, for a few seconds and then hit hybrid, or you definitely want to use both at the same time? 120 horsepower.
I think almost in all the scenarios you would use push to pass, you want to use the hybrid as well. Yeah. Or maybe you flip-flop them with some corner on the track, but I'm pretty sure that will be the recommendation. Yeah. And
when you say it's on the shift paddle, is it actually on the real shift paddle for you?
So we have a button here.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is kind of like a shift paddle, but it's not.
Are you excited about this though? I mean, it's something new, but I mean, is it in the middle of a championship season? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, is it exciting and like also a little bit anxiety ridden a little bit about what's going on this weekend?
I think it's a bit of both. It's obviously the workload is pretty big on the teams, not only from a software standpoint but from a mechanical standpoint. Yeah. But I think I think it was created to kind of annoy the driver, which is good for the show. It's going to be more mistakes. It's going to be more variety in what's going on there out on the track, and even if it's going to be tough for us, I think if it makes the racing better, I'm all for it. And I think it's also a chance to beat someone who you couldn't beat before, maybe. Yeah. If you figure this thing out a little bit quicker. So I think we're in a good situation to do that with Meyer Shank Racing and the engineers I work with. But yeah, we'll see. It's exactly. I have no idea what's going to happen.
I was going to say, but this puts more. Instead of putting the car more in the driver's hands, it puts it more in his fingertips, right? I mean, that's a good way of looking at it, right? Yeah. The guy who masters it's going to have a little bit of an edge. Yeah. Last thing with you and Meyer Shank, I mean, obviously Mike Shank was excited to get you on this team. The results, except for maybe winning a race, have shown why he was excited. Do you feel like is there a sense things are coming even more together for you in this group here heading in basically the last half of the year?
I think so. I feel like we were the perfect match in some sense. I think some of it were maybe luck. Like I feel like I really get along with everyone in the team. Yeah. We have the same ambitions, goals. We go to work with the same mindset, and I think some of that is luck, some of that is maybe experience or whatever. But I feel like Mike has really given me his full trust and kind of giving me the keys to the team in a way. Like, hey, if you need anything, let me know and we'll sort it. And everything I've asked for, he's been able to deliver. And we're still early days. There's still way more to be achieved and to be done. As you said, we've been kind of knocking on the door many races. Haven't really strung together a perfect weekend yet, which we want to do. We had some issues here and there on the different technical stuff that haven't really come together. But overall, it's been hugely exciting, and I feel like we're close to a podium result here.
Hey, Felix Rosenqvist, thank you.
Thank you.